I'd like to introduce today's first presenter, Laura Robinson. Laura, you now have the floor.
Thanks, Rob. Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's session on Dynamics Marketing. The title of our session today is Market Smarter. And with that, what we're really going to focus on is engaging customers, building pipeline, and demonstrating impact. As Rob introduced, I'm a Dynamics Marketing Technical Specialist with Microsoft, which means that I'm a pre-sales engineer for the Dynamics Marketing team. I want to direct your attention to the bottom row of information on the title slide here and offer up that this should be an interactive session. So Rob mentioned that you can enter in any questions at any time during the session in the Q&A. But if you'd like to share anything on Twitter, I encourage you to use the hashtag CRMShowMe. If you would like to connect with me directly on Twitter, my handle is LauraRobCRM. And also, if you want to connect on LinkedIn and just get some more information and reach out there, I am happy to connect with you on LinkedIn as well. And so, again, the content for today is all about marketing. So let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do first is just cover off on the agenda. Just as a little bit more of an introduction to me, I've been with Microsoft for the last almost 7 years, mostly in the Dynamics CRM sales team. And I've held a couple of different roles within that organization. And most recently, I've been focusing on the marketing set of products that we have to offer for our customers. So within this session today, what we're going to cover is really a 100-level introduction to Dynamics Marketing. Dynamics Marketing just had a major launch last spring. We're looking at a biannual launch cycle. And so what we'll be showing today and what I'll be covering in the demonstration is the latest version of Dynamics Marketing. But before we get into demo, we'll talk about our marketing point of view at Microsoft and how do we work with our customers to develop a set of solutions that help meet their marketing vision. In the demo, we'll show you how that comes to life from a planning perspective and execution, how you execute a marketing campaign, and then how do we integrate tightly into CRM and other systems to demonstrate impact. And so we'll cover a little bit more besides Dynamics Marketing and CRM in that we will also highlight some BI tools as well as Microsoft Social Listening. And then finally, we'll have some time at the end where I can open up for some Q&A. We won't be able to open up the audio lines, but again, if you've got questions in the chat box there, I can address those in the Q&A as well. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we'll talk about a little bit about what we hear from our customers. So typically, what people want to do often differs than what they're actually doing. And so one of the first things we hear about from our customers is this need to drive their brand, to drive this customer experience. And with that, what they're looking at doing is targeting a personalized customer engagement, and hopefully a good one, right? But typically what we see from a lot of our customers and where they're actually at is more or less just having some email marketing automation functionality, maybe some social. And so they're not quite there yet. And this is a challenge we'll talk about a little bit later that has a little bit to do with the technology, but a lot more to do with all of the different channels that are involved in how do we reach our customers and what kind of brand experience we have, as well as a lot of the different variations that companies are expected to provide in their product line offerings as well. And so that just adds a whole lot more products with less cohesive brand experience across more channels and customers who now have a voice with social media. So that's what we hear a lot from our customers for what they say they want to do, but what they're actually doing at this point in time is mostly email automation. We also hear about this need to really tightly integrate with sales teams. So having that handoff between marketing and sales and having a collaboration between marketing and sales so that sales is actually providing feedback as well to marketing to make the handoff better. And so with that, the typical term in the industry is creating marketing qualified leads. what we find is that a lot of companies are creating marketing qualified leads, but are they sales accepted leads? And that's the SAL acronym there. And the last big thing that we hear mostly from leaders of marketing organizations and from marketing managers, is how do they measure impact? So when we go in and talk to companies and ask, well, how are your campaigns doing today? Whether or not they can provide an answer is often telling, and so a lot of companies don't have that connection, that integration to the sales handoff at all. And so asking how the campaigns are running is kind of a hard question to answer. And so, and so there's just kind of a question mark there, or it's an issue where, there is quite a bit of heavy lifting from a data perspective in order to get that campaign performance and understanding that return on campaign investment. And so that is often one of the biggest disconnects. So let's talk a little bit more about typical customers, and maybe you can take this and start to think about where do you fit in your customer's life cycle. And I'm just going to go ahead and build out this slide here for you to review as we go through this. So what we're starting with in the lower end of the spectrum is aligning to the customer experience from just basic awareness. Do people know who we are? Do the right people know who we are? And how do we engage more of them? And how do we capture more attention? And then once you get that, how are you engaging? How are you being not only reactive but proactive? And then as you're becoming more proactive and engaging, what does that conversation look like? And then how can you build loyal customers who are actually going to be your advocates and who are going to rave about your brand and do things on your behalf, and also work with you to help shape the future. So that's really the art of customer excellence on the high end, and it's harder to attain than you might think. I think that according to a recent Forrester report, I think about 91% of customers that they polled of their top 100 customers, 91% of them said they wanted to offer an exceptional customer experience. When they went to those customers, what they found out is I think only about 30 to 40% were actually good to great at this. The rest fell below the average line. So it's a lot harder to do than you think. So then, when we think about some of the marketing activities that go along with awareness, engagement, conversion, and excellence, what comes into play there from a process and from a tools perspective? So on the low end here, we've got simply creative design. We've got creating ads. A lot of traditional marketing falls within this realm. We've got connection to CRM at a basic level. We've got email marketing. When we move up toward engagement, then we start getting into web analytics. So understanding who's visited your site and what are they doing, and how do we score them based on that information? How are we listening via social media? How are we proactively reaching out through social media? When we're looking at the art of conversation, the typo there, what we should be doing is, really understanding that tipping point and all of the activities that lead up to an interaction with our customers. So what are the systems and the processes that we have in place there for not only understanding that information and making sense of it, but then also operationally, internally, how do we take action and mobilize our groups? And then customer excellence, what we're really targeting here are things like predictive marketing. How do we get out ahead of our customer and solve for their problems before they have their problems? And that's really the holy grail with regards to achieving that high end of customer excellence. And so it's not easy. We talked a little bit about why, but from the the lens of the marketing organization, we've got several roles that we're targeting with the Dynamics marketing product and solution set. At the center, the CMO or whoever's leading the marketing organization team, but also wrapping in the the social marketer, the community manager, SEO, SEM agencies, ad agencies, business analysts, email marketing, account executives, and roles like that. Each have their own tools, each have their own processes, each have their own handoffs. So it's quite complex. In fact, I was talking to a customer the other day who was looking for ways to do email automation a little bit better. They're using an email service provider. It's fine, but when we started digging into, well, how many emails are you sending out? What audiences are you targeting? What we found is that they are actually experiencing a bottleneck between their email marketer and the design team, an agency that they use for design. And because they want to create a rich HTML template for their email, they rely on their design team to build that, and the design team has a 4-week request and turnaround from the point of request to the point of turnaround. So if they need to get emails out fast, they're looking at either scraping what they've already used and maybe repurposing it, or a 4-week turnaround. So they literally can't respond with a lot of agility and quickness to target their customers. And so what we're looking at with Dynamics marketing is not only how do we execute on campaigns, but how do we enable teams to work better with each other. If we want to drill down a little bit further into the complexity of the solutions available, because companies have more versions of products and offerings and services that they need to offer to be competitive, because they are crossing so many more customer channels, because customers have a greater voice, what's happened is it's led to a lot of point solutions cropping up to fit every single little niche need within the marketing technology landscape. And this is a slide that was created earlier this year, and at that point it hadn't been updated in 18 months. In a span of 18 months, this slide tripled. So the number of point solutions tripled in about an 18-month time period. So just a ton of complexity and a lot of options. It's a very confusing landscape from a technology perspective. So let's talk about some more trends that we're seeing, and I'm just going to call out a couple of these. One of the things that we're seeing within marketing organizations is the need to be more technical, or at least rely on IT more so than ever before. So when we're talking about different bottlenecks, you can imagine this might cause a lot of bottlenecks within an organization, where a CMO level person needs to maybe implement some of those point solutions, but work with IT to do so. And so what we look at with that trend is, how do we make our solutions cloud first so that end users can set it up, can configure it, can deploy it without as much reliance on IT to do a lot of that heavy lifting. And so we're looking at the cloud strategy. Social is another big trend, not only from a customer perspective, but how do we work internally as a team? And so we're looking at both external social data and information, as well as internal social information. And to me, that social information really represents a lot of unstructured data that's kind of your river of news. How do we make sense of that, and how do we move it? Big data is another point. So we've got the computing technology now across the board that is advanced enough to search across huge data sets. And so when we look at big data trends, what we're talking about is not only volume, but also velocity for how searchable that is. And we've got the technology and the investments in that technology to really do a lot more there. And then mobility, making every touch point pervasive on any mobile device, making our own solutions available on any mobile device, any hardware. And that is an emphasis across the board at Microsoft. So let's get into the Dynamics marketing product. So we've been at a pretty high level. Let's get down to specifics. So with Dynamics marketing, because of the need to very effectively execute a marketing campaign across different channels, reaching different markets, what we're looking at is excellent marketing automation that is coupled with excellent marketing planning. So not only just being able to execute on a campaign or being able to send out a bulk email, point solutions are great for that, but how do we connect that to all of the planning that's involved? How do we create a brand experience that's unified across the board? How do we make sure that we're not, as a marketing organization, just creating assets and losing them in file folders, in emails, and making last minute revisions to print because we've had an email thread back and forth with revisions on a piece of content. How do we make that better? How do we execute as a marketing group in the best way possible? And then how do we have that handoff to sales? So with Dynamics Marketing, the product comes with a connector that is configurable for integration with CRM. And so what we're looking at is integrating that experience so that marketing teams and sales teams can work together to define a lead score, a scoring model, in fact, to define what makes it sales ready. And when it comes over the fence to sales, how does sales accept that lead, and how do we measure that the leads coming from that campaign are leads worth calling out on? And then understanding overall the effectiveness of campaigns. So when you're a marketer and you have a budget, understanding which campaigns are working and which ones aren't, so that you can make changes throughout your year with your budget, so you can invest more in the campaigns that are working more. And understanding those insights are a basic. So let's get into the demo. The first thing we're going to talk about in the demonstration today is planning. How many people, and I know you can't comment out loud, or you can, but we can't hear you right now. But if anybody's familiar with this woman, this is Julia Child, and she revolutionized French cooking in the American home because she made it very simple and easy and explained, and maybe lessened the fear of American cookers for cooking French food. And so she's kind of if you think about marketing management as project management, I like to think of this as, how do you put together a big meal? How do you cook a Thanksgiving dinner? What goes into understanding who your target audience is? What's your budget? What ingredients do you need to put together that meal? When do you need to go to the store for different things? What kind of prep work can you do in advance of the day that you're delivering that meal? The day of, who's bringing what? Are you enlisting other people or external agencies to come in and do some of the work for you? And then what are the results? Do people come back to your Thanksgiving dinner, or do they offer to host it the next year, or just not show up at all? So I like to think about it, if you're unfamiliar with how much planning goes into marketing, think about it in the terms of creating a Thanksgiving dinner. So let's get into the demo, and we'll talk about planning first. So I'm going to switch over to my screen here. And so what you should see, refresh, and let me just make sure that that's coming up. Looks good, I think. What you're seeing in your screen right here is Dynamics Marketing. Now, if you're familiar with CRM, what this is user interface representing is the common user interface that we're applying to all of our Dynamics products going forward. Simple white background, simple design, dashboards, landing in the front. Dynamics Marketing, as I mentioned, is its own system. We have a connection to CRM, so I'm going to switch to CRM just for a moment to show you the similar view, similar layout, but we are in CRM for one part of our demo, and we are going to be in marketing for another. So right away from my marketing homepage, with regards to planning, and understanding where to invest my budget for the year, I've got my budget spread out across different channels. And right from the start, I can see my budget for the year. I can see how much I've actually spent. If I wanted to drill into one of these channels, I can see where I am with regards to email marketing as opposed to the overall view. And this is just a high-level view that will help me understand how I'm doing and keep it on track in the moment. Campaign performance is going to help me do some planning as well, and we're going to cover off on that once we connect the dots between sales and marketing. And then on the right-hand side here, I can see all of my work. So as a marketing manager, I can see all of my tasks, my approvals, and my jobs that I have running. And so I can either have this displayed or I can hide it depending on how I choose to work. So I'm going to go into the menu here, and what we're going to do is take a look at a job that I'm running, that I'm executing on, where I've got a lot of different people involved that are going to help me complete this job. And what this job is going to do is this job is set up to create our email marketing email messages for the year that I'm going to plug into several campaigns, and then we'll look at the campaign flow. So I'm going to go into my projects, and that's where I have all of my jobs. I have job requests. I have all my tasks, my approvals, any internal emails that we're exchanging, time slips if that's important. So I'm going to look at jobs, and we're going to go into, as I said, a sample job where we are creating some emails for the year with the branding that we need across a team of people who are putting it together. And I'm going to just hide my tasks for now. So you can see the full view of all of the jobs. Now I want to call out this column for created by. These are jobs that not only I've created, but also my colleagues have created. And so if I need to see a different view of just the ones that I'm working on, I can do that. But right away, what we're looking at when we present this to our customers is a all-in-one collaborative view. And typically how our customers are managing this today is through email, SharePoint, or some SharePoint folders and files, or some kind of file sharing network, as well as Excel. And so that's a very siloed approach to managing projects, and it often leads to the types of things like bottlenecks with different groups, or not getting priority if you need another team to do something, or duplicating creative work that you could be sharing, for example. And so that's a value add right from the start. So I'm going to look at this job request here that a colleague of mine opened for these emails. This is a job request that we can either source as a marketing group, or we can create a web template for anyone external to our marketing group, anyone external in the company to submit a job request. So for example, if I'm a salesperson and I need some more collateral, or I think I need something different or for an upcoming event, I could make a job request through an external portal. So those are the two typical ways that we get jobs. Now I've got a start date and a due date, and because this is an email type of request that's come in, I've got some standard data that's completed for me, actually. So the start date was September 4th, and typically this job takes 2 weeks to complete, so it's going to auto-populate a due date. Our due date's a little shorter here, so we're gonna work with that in a little bit. And then when I look at the tasks involved in getting this job done, what we have populated within this type of job template is a standard series of tasks that are created every time we have this job. So we're getting that process really locked down within this type of a job request. So if I look at my task list here, I can see who it's assigned to. I can see the campaign manager assigned it. I'm going to go into an edit view here and show you a little bit more about this, because we can see how many hours we're estimating this to complete, and this can help us if we're tracking time and time slips. And then we've got a waterfall of due dates where we will start the next task once the first task is completed. And so it kind of goes down the line. Now if I've got some default roles listed here within the assigned to. If I have specific team members I know I can allocate this to, I can go in and just change the assigned to, for example. Now, if we've got the need to set up approvals, we've got approvals workflow, and every single one of these assigned to roles or users has a configurable set of alerts that they can choose to alert them based on what level of granularity they want alert. So if if Xander here gets assigned to this item, this task, he will get an alert through email, for example. Now let's take this job, and it looks like we are a little bit halfway through where we need to do some creative development. We're going to just jump to this. It's in process. Also within this job, we've got the ability to manage assets and all of that branding that goes into our jobs. So I'm going to go into files here and show you how we can very easily start to track all of the files also associated with this job, whether it's copy and we've just got some text files we're marking up, or whether it's design work. That can all be managed here. So I can see there is an image that's our brand. There's also a sample document that's going to be our copy. If I go into the brand itself, we can make some changes to that. We can mark it as completed, and basically add that component into our overall workflow. So while that's loading, I'm just going to check the Q&A real quick. Okay, so a question from the Q&A that I'll just take right now. The question is, in Dynamics Marketing, an editable grid for tasks was demonstrated. Will similar capabilities be in a future release of Dynamics CRM? Thank you for that question, Mike. The answer is yes, that is on the roadmap for Dynamics CRM. I would need to check where in the roadmap it is, but I've been in this CRM team for a long time. I know that's been a highly requested feature, and that is something that the product team is actively working on. In fact, in Dynamics CRM 2013, I believe that editable grid is enabled within opportunity products, I believe. And somebody keep me honest on the line here if I'm wrong there. But yes, that is on the roadmap. Good question. Okay, so we've got our sample image here. I can look at the comments. I have, in fact, marked this ready to go. If we wanted to mark this up any further, let's say we've gotten word from upstream that Microsoft Dynamics sales here are changing from multicolor to all blue gradients or something like that. What we can do is, we can basically say, we'll put a pin in it. I'm going to put a pin and just note, hold off, these are changing to blue, and so on. And basically just keep a running tab of what changes are made here. So that's a very simple example here, but essentially that's what we're driving at with some of the files that you can embed right into your job. Okay, so I'm going to go, let's go back to that job. I'm just going to go back in my browser, and what we'll do with this job, and let's say we've also got word from this team that we need to shift the due date a little bit. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to shift this way back and hit submit on this job. And so we've got, as you've seen, we've got all these people and groups lined up to do some work here with a waterfall of stuff that has to get done. We can't send it to legal until we've approved the copy, right? We can't send it to our designers until we've got all of our internal edits finished off. And so so what I do when I change the due date, it's going to ask me do I want to compress all of the other tasks involved in this job, or expand them if I was increasing the date, or do we want to shift them, or do we want to apply no change and just have people work as they can handle the work. And so you've got the ability to adjust as you go along, so that you're not skipping a step, so that your process remains intact as you're going through this job and completion. Makes sense? Okay, so that's a job, and those are some email messages that we're creating. What I'm going to do is jump to the second part of our demonstration, and with that, we're going to talk about integration. So with integration, we're going to talk about how do we execute on a campaign, but also hand off that information over to sales in an effective way. And so this picture is supposed to depict the complications that typically go with integration. And that's why it's so hard for marketing organizations to report on how they're actually performing within their campaigns. So let's take a look at that. Going to go back to marketing here, dynamics marketing, and what we're going to do is take a look at execution. Now within the marketing execution bucket, we've got a whole bunch of things we can do here. We can, as a core, track our campaigns. We can make sure we are tracking all of our companies that we're marketing to and contacts, as well as vendors. So again, when you're planning and you've got external people working on components of your campaign, how do we track that? We've got marketing lists. Now, if you're familiar with CRM, and you've seen Dynamic CRM and the marketing module in CRM, I just want to take a moment and call this out, because the marketing list is really the core point of handoff from CRM into marketing. And so what a common scenario there is, if you've got a marketing team that's working with sales and asking them to please include their sales contacts in marketing. And at Microsoft, we have to do this all the time because we're a big organization, and we in particular have very strict rules for how do we reach out to customers. And so our marketing and our sales teams are very lockstep together because marketing does rely a lot on salespeople to contribute to segmenting lists and tightening up lists for marketing campaigns. So that is a big handoff point between Dynamics Marketing and Dynamics CRM. Then we've got lead management. So we've got the ability to create landing pages, leads, track through those opportunities, marketing plans. We've got internet marketing where we're tracking web behavior for visitors. We've got event management capabilities, social media, so we can connect it to a Twitter handle for proactive social media posts, and then email marketing, and a calendar and results. So there's a whole bunch going on in marketing execution. What we're going to focus on for this 100 level overview is the campaign. So you can see here, much like my jobs, I've got a view of all campaigns, no matter who they're created by, within my security role, much like CRM. If I wanted to filter that on just the campaigns I'm running, I can do that, but I'm going to blow this up to all the campaigns. And this is a nice view so I can see what's in flight at any time across my team. So I'm going to go into a campaign here for a quick campaign for engagement. And this is just kind of an ongoing nurture campaign that that we're plugging customers in on a frequent basis. And so what we're capturing here is just some basic information. And just like with CRM, a lot of this is configurable. So if you want to capture different information, let's say you want to capture product information related to a campaign, you can configure CRM to do that as an easy example. We can see the results that are happening. We can configure also what kinds of results, whether it's leads captured or cost or score, and things like that. We can configure the system to capture that. And then what we will get into here in a moment are the leads coming in from this campaign. And so we're starting out with a list of individuals, and from this we are going to create leads, and leads indicate an interest. So you could have multiple leads for any one contact, really, because of some of the different campaigns that might show up in. So we'll take a look at a sample lead here in just a moment. So let me go to another view of this campaign, and this is where we're going to spend a lot of our time next, and that's in the campaign automation. So as we're thinking through the complexities that most marketers face in targeting different channels to reach their customers, what we're finding with companies we talk to is a really disjointed approach. You might have email marketing efforts happening. You might have social media campaigns kicking off. You might have direct mail. You might have traditional lines, and often it's siloed. It's disjointed. With this view, what we're proposing is to look at the entire journey of that customer through an end-to-end campaign. This can be either B2C or it can be B2B. In this example, we're going to look at more of a B2B example just to keep things simple. So in this example, I'm going to zoom out here because I want to show you what this campaign journey is made up of. To start out, we've got our marketing list, and that's denoted by the green box. We can have either a static point-in-time view of our marketing list, or we can create a dynamic query that every time an individual that you're querying against meets a certain criteria, add them to the list. So for example, let's say you're targeting every contact in Arizona and you have a salesperson enter a new contact in CRM in Arizona. You can have a dynamic query, find that contact, add it to that marketing list automatically, and then feed that into this campaign. So those are two types of marketing lists that we're working with here. With that marketing list, we've got actions in the blue boxes, and these are things we can do with them. In this case, we're simply sending them an email that is linked, denoted by the link, to a landing page. So we're just asking them to indicate their interest in an upcoming event. And then based on that, we've got some responses. So we've got a trigger that's going to understand, did they respond? Did they hit that landing page and fill out the form? If they did, we're going to send them a confirmation email. We're going to send them along this green path. So they'll get a confirmation email. They're also going to get a higher score. So this is a lead scoring mechanism that we are applying specifically to this action. And then we're going to tweet about it, okay? If they didn't fill out that landing page, we're going to put them on this red path here where we're taking a different set of action items. We're going to first of all wait 2 days so we can schedule out wait periods and configure what that is. We're going to wait 2 days and we're going to hit them up with a reminder email, first reminder. And we're going to send them to the same landing page, but we're going to have a different URL that we're using to redirect them to that landing page. So we're capturing a different lead score because they're different, right? They didn't bite on our first line. We're going to try a different line and see if they bite there. And then just for fun, we're going to throw in a task for our inside sales team to follow up with this list directly. And what we might want to do there is do another trigger in between where if they didn't register, then we'll have a follow-up. I think that probably makes a little more sense. So that's the view from a high level. If we drill into this view, what we can do here is actually start to create that experience within this flow. And so we've got our list and we've got our email. Let's take a look at that email. So when you're building this, you have the option of pulling in emails, and these are emails that we've created with our job that we just looked at in the planning portion of this demonstration. And so we can see from the start, we can see how many people have been sent the email. We can see how many people opened it, how many times it bounced. Now this is going to look, you might be saying, okay, that's 12, Laura. You have 5 people on your marketing list. This is a demo, folks. And so we've sent this email a lot more times than in this one campaign. So that's where that metric comes into play. There's also a test feature that will always add +1 to your CRM list. We can see the landing page information. We can see the details of the trigger here, and so on and so forth. So we can kind of build that out. Now let's say in our reminder we wanted to go in and edit this email for some reason. I'm going to go ahead and open up the editor of this email, and you'll see that it's fairly simple to go in and make any edits directly in line here. So we've just got a pretty standard email. We can definitely pretty this up with any kind of images or logos by using the WYSIWYG editor here within the designer. We've also got the ability to personalize it. So if we wanted to insert any fields, these are all the fields that exist in the system, including custom ones if you wanted to include that. Pretty standard. So let's back up here. So we've got this campaign, it's in flight. Now another point here is that we can change this in flight, we can add people in flight, and they will continue through this journey, all right? We don't have to kick it off and then start a new one every time we wanted to modify something. But if we do want to take it offline, we simply go in and deactivate it, and that turns it off for the time being. We can make any major changes at that point and go from there. Now, another point worth mentioning, and this is just for pure productivity purposes, if I want to take any of these campaigns and clone them, so let's say I like this campaign, I want to do this in a different market altogether, I can take it and just copy it, and it's going to take that whole set of flow of content and everything, and it's going to copy it over. Obviously, it doesn't copy the history of what's happened, but it's going to give you that template to start new. All right, let's go back into this campaign one more time. We're going to take a look at the integration between marketing and CRM. And so what I'm going to do is pull open one of these leads here. So you can see the list of leads. I've filtered again on an all view, show me all of my records. And I'm going to open up this lead here for Liz Lemon from TGS Company. Now, right from the start, I can see a score. I can see that Liz, as a lead, has a score of 65. I can see that this is also high priority, and there have been some tweaks to this lead here within the system. I can also see every interaction that we've had with Liz from a web perspective, a web behavior. So most recently, Liz registered for our campaign from that initial email, and it's bumped her score up significantly. But she's also done some other things on some of our other web pages. So she's gone to the Limitless Business webpage, and she's also spent some time looking at this event that we're running that she logged at the beginning of the month. And so from a web behavior perspective, once we have Liz completing some gated information, or we've sent her an email and she clicks on a link, any unknown or unrecognized behavior that she's had will populate into her as a lead record. So any anonymous visitor, I should say, becomes known once they have passed through one of these gates. And then we can have all that interaction. So at this point, what we can do with Liz is, we can do a number of things, actually. We can score her. We can make a direct call out email. We can add a note if we're nurturing this from within an inside sales or inbound marketing perspective, or we can promote it directly to an opportunity. And that's something that will get picked up right away in CRM. Because Liz has hit a critical score, this is going to populate into CRM automatically. So I'm going to go now to CRM. So those of you who are familiar with CRM will feel nice and safe and at home within this view if you're used to CRM 2013. This is just a CRM 2013 demo environment. We've got the ability to look at sales, service, and again, a little baby marketing module here within the application. But what we're going to look at here is the handoff to sales. I've got, just like with Dynamics Marketing, I've got a number of different dashboards I can build. And so if I'm wearing my marketing hat, I've got my marketing dashboard where I want to see those lists of leads coming in that sales is picking up on. And that's my high score leads view here from a marketing perspective. But also as a marketer, I want that insight into what does the sales pipeline look like? So when the sales team complains to me that they're not getting enough leads, I have visibility into what they're working on. It's dangerous, but it's smart. I can also see from that the leads I'm passing off, how many of those have actually resulted in real qualified opportunities. So when we're thinking about marketing qualified leads as well as sales accepted leads, that's where that handoff becomes very meaningful in terms of how my campaigns are performing. And this is all just configurable. These are just charts that I've thrown in here. The smiley face, I will get to in a little bit, but this is also our sentiment around some of the campaigns that we're running. And this is actually real-time data that I'm pulling from social media about Dynamics Marketing as a topic. We'll get into that in a little bit. So that's my marketing dashboard. You'll see this list of leads here. I want to call your attention to that. Now, if I switch hats and I turn on my sales hat, from a sales perspective, I want the leads. I also want to know my pipeline. I want to know maybe a view of my activities. Maybe I want to know who my top customers are and how many of those I can upsell and things like that. So we're shifting perspective a little bit here. I'm going to pick up my lead that is Liz Lemon. So let me drill into her account, her record. And I can see some more details about Liz that are feeding from Dynamics Marketing, but also being supplemented through the CRM interface. So here it becomes a lot more rich from a sales perspective. I've got contact information, which is typical. I've got a view with Bing embedded maps of where she's actually located. I've got an activity wall, which shows any posts, and this might be tied into Yammer if you're a Yammer user. It also shows any of my activities that are coming up. I've got an activity to call Liz back, as well as any notes or any other details there. And then across the top, if you're unfamiliar with CRM 2013, this is brand new to CRM. And this is our process-driven interface. What this does is it gives us a view not only of where we are in terms of this sales engagement with Liz, but where have we come from? So it gives me a map of where I've been and also where I'm going. So I'm in the qualify stage here within this lead because it's a lead, right? Once I qualify it, it's going to convert that lead to an opportunity, as you might expect. But then all of a sudden we're kicked into the develop phase, and then the propose phase, and then the close phase. And these are all configurable based on what your process is. This is just a standard generic process for this demo. Okay, so we can take Liz and give her a call. Now we can see that source campaign is tagged here. And so this becomes very important when we're starting to measure the impact of our campaigns, right? So we're feeding that from Dynamics Marketing into the lead, and as we go through and convert this and qualify it to an opportunity, all of that data carries over. Okay, so I'm not going to get too far into the sales automation. That's another demonstration for another day. But let's talk a little bit about the next part of our demo, which is measuring impact. So what we're going to shift now to is BI. How many people are familiar with this image here? Maybe you can just note that to yourselves, or if you care to weigh in on in the panel, you may do that. As I mentioned at the beginning, BI has become critical in a marketer's world, and it always has been, but now we have the computing power to get data faster, to get more of that data, and to get it in either structured or an unstructured fashion. And so what we'll look at in the next part of this demonstration are some of the out-of-the-box capabilities for understanding marketing impact within Dynamics Marketing and CRM, but also within a tool that we use and love at Microsoft called Power BI. And so I'll give you an overview of that. And then we're going to take a look at some of the unstructured data available through social media. All right, so let's get back into the demo. All right, so just to kind of round off on the beginning of our conversation in our demo, what I showed was a quick view of a chart for budget usage. I alluded to the campaign performance chart embedded here as well. This is feeding in from power view of our marketing data combined with our sales data. And so just to cover off on some of the power terms when we're talking about Excel. So with Office 365, you have access to Excel Power Tools for free. Did you know that? If you have Office 365, this is worth looking into. So you've got the ability to use Power Pivot, Power View, Power Query, and Power Map. And so you're taking Excel and you're basically able to create these visualizations based on the data that you're pulling. So you're not only just an Excel master now, you have the ability to be a data visualization master. And so this is a view that we've built based on the data pulling from marketing and CRM. So I can really quickly look at my campaigns and I can understand the spend by campaign. So this Dynamics business campaign is by far our largest. I've got a view of all the different channels involved. I've got a view down below of the return on that marketing investment. by campaign in my different geographies. So whereas the Dynamics business is our biggest spend, what we want to do is take a look at how we're returning on that investment, because some of these other campaigns are actually outpacing in terms of impact here. So if I'm that marketer and I'm looking at where do I reinvest my budget for the year in flight as well as for future years, I might want to invest a little bit more in some of these other campaigns. From a CRM perspective, as I mentioned, we've got the ability to look at another cut of that data on some of our dashboards and charts just within CRM. So because you've got that connection point, you've got tools to look at either from a marketing perspective into CRM or a CRM perspective into marketing. So I could take a view of my opportunities by campaigns. If I wanted to blow this up a little bit more and pivot on this and understand where we are in terms of the sales funnel and let's say, estimated revenue, for example, we could do a cut of that information. So very quickly, you've got the ability to pivot on that data. Now, let's go back to some of these power tools in Excel, because this is really where a lot of external data comes into play as well. So I'm going to go to a third tab here, which is my campaign view, or my spend by campaign. I'm going to back up a moment. So Power BI is a layer that sits on top of Power View, Power Map, Power Query, and gosh, why am I blanking on the last one? The Power Tools. And it allows me to ask questions through a natural language query. And so if you're in marketing, you may have, the one person who's the business analyst, and you need to understand, a very specific query on your data. And typically you go to that person and you submit your request, and there's usually a 3-week wait, and then they get your request back, and by that time typically your request has changed, right? So this puts the power into your hands, so that you can very quickly start just getting ad hoc data at your fingertips. If I just start searching for campaign ROMI, the Power BI application is smart enough to crawl across not only the metadata of my data sources, but also the data in it. So it starts to guess what I might want. And this is the biggest easy button in terms of analytics that we have to offer. So if I just type in campaign ROMI, it's going to guess what I want to see, and it's starting to populate that for me. And it thinks I want it as a bar chart, and that's great. I could do a pie chart and get a different cut of that. Or I could just do a table of the information. If I wanted to filter and apply some filters based on the data that exists, I can do that. I can filter on region. I can start to get more into the Excel-like functions within the tool. But you've got a really nice starting off point where you've got the ability to just start guessing and poking around at data that might become interesting. Okay, so that's Power BI in terms of how are we able to take different data sources, whether it's from Dynamics Marketing and Dynamics CRM, or external sources, or public data sets like weather, or tax information or census information, and mash that up within this tool set. We can do that. Let's take a look now at some unstructured data. So also, as I'm going through and understanding the impact of my campaigns and the cost per dollar of that impact, I want to know what people are saying about it. Oops. And what I'm going to do is go into Microsoft Social Listening to understand that view. So a couple points about Microsoft Social Listening. If you are a CRM 2013 CRM Online user today, you will want to look into how many licenses you have, because any organization with 10 or more professional licenses gets Microsoft Social Listening at no cost up to 10,000 posts a month. So we're giving you a starting off point for free within the application. And so I'm going to go into a dashboard that I have set up within CRM that's taking a feed from Microsoft Social Listening. And this is a real-time dashboard. This is, I'm tracking 3 different topics. I'm tracking Dynamics Marketing, Dynamics CRM, and Power BI as topics. And so within this demo, I've just embedded my topic for Dynamics marketing to see where we stand from a buzz perspective, from trend, from sources and sentiment and location. And so I can see that I've got within, and this is taking a view by default of the past week. I can see how many posts on Twitter we have. I can see how many Facebook posts. And there's just, what was interesting to me was there are a lot more Facebook users and pages posting about marketing than Twitter. It's usually the other way around. News as well as blogs. So a lot of great blog posts. I can also see a view of the top authors, and this is very important to me because I want to make sure that I'm nurturing those authors, right? So for this author called CRM Alchemy, I'm going to load this in my view and show you just some quick details. Actually, let me double click here. My internet is giving me a bit of a hiccup, but I want to make sure that I am engaging with that person. And so let me take a different cut here. So if I click on any one of those icons, I can pop right into social listening and view this at a greater level. So within this sentiment, I can see how much of that is across my different channels. But also posts across time. So actually the last week we've had a press release, and that's what's driving these posts here, and really start to monitor that. I'm experiencing some internet latency, so I'm not going to spend too much time here and need to wrap up in any case. But this is something worth looking into, and our goal here is to provide social for everyone. So I'm just one person and I'm interested in how the product I'm selling is trending. I might be interested in competitive information, and I'm not going to show you that in this demo, but that's another thing I'm tracking. I might be interested in understanding specific campaigns that we're launching by hashtag, for example, and that's something I can track through social listening. So you can do this at an organization level or at a personal level as well, and put social in the hands of everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and just to kind of summarize the BI capabilities. Again, you've got out-of-the-box functionality and reporting in both Dynamics Marketing and CRM. It becomes much more rich when you've got the two connected, as well as when you put a Power BI layer on top of it. And that's for your structured information and structured data. You've also got the ability to track what's happening in social media, and that's where we get a lot of our unstructured information and feedback through Microsoft Social Listening. So I'm going to jump back to my slide deck because we're about at time here. I just wanted to highlight some of the impact we're making with our customers. When we've got the planning connected with the execution, connected with the BI, what we're seeing are organizations that are saving a lot of money with Dynamics Marketing, whether it's through, collaborating on brand assets, to demonstrating that impact through sales, to just simply converting more customers to paying customers. We're seeing results across the board. So where do you get started? I don't see any questions currently in the news stream or in the question stream here, so thank you for asking them, and thanks Vishal, who's on the back end answering questions. But my question to you is, do you want to learn more? Are you interested in learning more? And then where do you start? Typically, we have companies who are looking at maybe starting with execution, or maybe they want to start more with the planning and then roll out to execution later. Or maybe they just simply need to have that connection through to CRM. It all depends on where do you want to start, and you've got several different points. So if you want to learn more, explore more, or even request a guided trial experience, I encourage you to go to this link. We're at the top of the hour, but just to wrap up, we've also got some handouts in the panel itself with some of these resources if you do want to learn more and connect with us on that. But in any case, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up and hand it back over to Rob and just say thank you for your attendance today, and I will hand it over to Rob to kind of finish us up.
Great. Thank you for attending today's event, Microsoft Dynamics CRM Show Me the Demo. And thank you to our presenter, Laura Robinson. This concludes today's session. You may now disconnect.